Today marks the first-year anniversary of the Emperor Carloy Croissant and Empress Yvonne Valois marriage, celebrated with a festive party at the Imperial Palace. But no one in the capital was aware of the fact that the Emperor despised the Empress. The Emperor danced with other women, while the Empress was seen waiting with palace maids in a banquet hall, appearing familiar with such events. Duke of Valois endured unfair treatment to his daughter. Despite her role as his wife in name only, nobles approached the Empress, but she remained silent. The Emperor raised his voice on a joyous day, revealing something to the people. He told them that despite a year since their marriage, they still has no heir. The nobles observed the Duke of Valois, who now displays hostility towards the Emperor. On the other hand, the Empress remained expressionless, as if she was listening to other people's affairs. It was as though her soul was somewhere else. A young lady, daughter of Marquis Rodin, enters the banquet hall in a colorful dress, equating to the Empress's attire. Now, the Duke of Valois turned red to the point that it seemed like his head would burst. Likewise, the Empress finally changed her emotionless face. Kana Rodin gently approached the Emperor in a charming voice, expressing her fear of embarrassment. He affectionately held Kana Rodin and declared that she will be her queen, causing a resounding "Your Majesty" in the banquet hall. The nobles told him concubinage system had disappeared 200 years ago, but he declared that he took a precious possession of hers and would be rude not to take responsibility. The Duke of Valois couldn't suppress his anger anymore and shouted, "Your Majesty?" The Emperor looked at the Empress and asked her that she will not be jealous. The Empress answered that she understand. Although the people didn't care much, the Empress' indifferent voice seemed to have incited his anger. The Emperor was angered by her calm response, but agrees to handle the procedures for turning Kana into his queen and takes his leave. So, in the first year of their marriage, Emperor Carloy brought a new woman whom he slept with and proclaimed her as his queen. 1 year ago, Yvonne Valois was the only daughter of the Duke of Valois, whose power was above the Emperor. And that was why Carloy Croissant, the Emperor of Croissant, hated Yvonne Valois very much. On their wedding day, Carloy yawned at the Duke's tears, feeling forced into a marriage she didn't want. However, it was evident that Carloy is the one who hated the marriage. It was the Duke of Valois who forced Carloy to marry his daughter by making a trap enough for him to do so as his life was involved. The Duke of Valois asked Carloy to take good care of his daughter, but he refuses to be kind to her and asks to marry her to someone else. The Duke of Valois smiles nonchalantly when he sees Carloy's sarcasm. The Duke answered that only the Emperor is on match with his daughter, which makes Carloy angrier. It was not entirely wrong to say that, as he was the greatest duke in the empire, but the Emperor was very angry once he heard those words. He coveted the position greedily, as if he looked down on the imperial family. Yvonne Valois made her first appearance on their wedding day, showcasing her impressive beauty with platinum white hair and green eyes that shimmered like waves. Her stunning appearance was a testament to her beauty and grace. The Emperor told her that finally they had seen each other. Yvonne just stared at him with seriousness. Carloy became displeased and started getting goosebumps when he noticed that the eyes staring at him didn't falter, not even once. Carloy interlocked his cold hand with her with an unpleasant face. At his actions, Yvonne looked surprised for a moment, but Carloy continued to hold her hands. At the end of the ceremony, Carloy left immediately and never once even looked back at Yvonne. The nobles had left the ceremony chattering, even if the two didn't kiss. The Duke confronts Yvonne, who was left by the Emperor, that she reveals her desire to tame the Emperor through her words, causing the other nobles to be stunned and question her intentions. The aristocrats who were on the side of the Emperor resented and told Carloy about the arrogant attitude of Yvonne Valois, who resembled her father. Thus, Carloy, who disappeared right after the wedding ceremony, came to their bedroom with a cold face. Carloy approached Yvonne to tell him what she said on her father and asked if she is aware about his feelings towards the Duke, which Yvonne answered she was aware of. Carloy reveals that his dislike for the Duke is as high as to eliminate people with Valois last name in the Empire. Yvonne appeared calm and indifferent, asking if he could do it. Carloy was surprised by her question, but she repeated her question if he can remove the Valois household, but Carloy was angered that make him laugh. Yvonne suggests having a child with her if he can't do it, hoping his father will be satisfied. Her words meant that if he couldn't get rid of the Duke, he should just shut up and accept their marriage. Carloy feels insulted by Yvonne's words, but she encourages him to face reality and pretend to be on good terms. Carloy understands that marrying the Duke's daughter and making their son as his successor will end his ambitions. But it wasn't acceptable. The Duke killed half of Carloy's family. He even tried to kill Carloy. He didn't want to listen to what that madman wanted. The Empress is advised to be prepared to risk her neck if caught in a dangerous situation, as the old man's blood cannot be put on the throne despite the Empire's destruction. At his sudden threat, his anger was evident. Carloy said each word with emphasis and turned away from the Empress. Yvonne called him quietly, but he didn't turn around. Carloy barely managed to hold back the sneer that was about to come out of his mouth and told she may be the Empress of this country, but that would be the end of it. After their marriage, the Empress was excluded from imperial affairs and unable to preside over duties, but continued her daily life carelessly and at ease, enjoying her time in the palace. The Emperor and Empress had monthly meals, causing catastrophic consequences. The Emperor advised Yvonne against personal contact with the Duke. Yvonne answered yes to all his questions, not finishing his sentence. He became angry of her behavior. He expresses his dissatisfaction with her father's attack on him over marital affairs, but she replied, claiming it was a conversation between parent and child. The Empress expresses her concern for Carloy's child and warns him that it was for his sake, but he answered that he knows what's best for him. Yvonne continued to eat quietly for a while, as if to accept the Emperor's response, but soon opened her mouth again and asked what she have to do to get him to her palace. Carloy felt something familiar. It was an unpleasant familiarity, and onward if the Empress were to disappear, he would probably go. Suddenly, the image of the Duke of Dalois at the political meeting came to mind, and Carloy lost his appetite. He stopped eating, throwing the tableware, and ended up leaving the table. He didn't even want to look back. It's hard to understand when she always ignored him, and he doesn't even know why she often stares at people like that. Every time she did that, Carloy hated Yvonne even more. Carloy urged Yvonne for an answer without hiding his boredom. Yvonne agrees to work on the task, and Kina expresses gratitude to Empress, expressing her satisfaction with the situation. Carloy decided to spend time alone with Kina. Kina bowed to Yvonne, and the Emperor and lady left the palace. Yvonne, who was left alone, was worried. She is unsure how to handle her new role as she has come in with her father's help. Yvonne bursts into laughter. Carloy, disapproving of Kiana's actions, asks her about handing their marriage to the Empress. Kiana, adjusting her headdress, looks at Carloy and answered that she wants to see Her Majesty's reaction. She told him to notify her about lunch with the Empress. She added that Carloy is a cruel husband that is beyond her imagination. But Carloy told her that she showed no mercy to the Empress, and the reason he chose her. She expresses frustration with her contract with the Emperor, claiming he is overusing her for private affairs and trying to make the Empress jealous. Carloy's face was horribly distorted. That statement was ridiculous to hear. Jealousy was a word that would be used between people with feelings for each other. There was no such thing between Yvonne and himself. Carloy argued that the Empress is emotionless. Her cold demeanor is questioned, as she has the Duke as her father. Carloy scolds Kiana for her dismissive tone, suggesting that it is easier to seduce a stone than the Empress. It was an unnecessarily extreme statement. Kiana was thinking why he is so repulsed by an Empress, who he has no interest in. Carloy asked about her father, Marquis Rodin, a powerful figure in the aristocratic faction, but lacks courage to bring their daughter into the imperial palace, as he prefers His Majesty's side over Duke Dalois. Kiana questions the Duke's history of kidnapping imperial family members, mentioning a young Carloy kidnapped in a Duke of Dalois forest. Despite the assailants' attempts, the Duke killed all involved without reporting the incident. Carloy asked about the investigation. She had already informed her father about the incident, which they found all was destroyed and no witnesses survived. She asked if he is finding someone, but he answered that he is only searching for evidence that the Duke did it, not someone. Kina knew he was lying. Yvonne's father walked around the palace with a red-green face 3 times a day. Of course, all of this was reported to Carloy. The head attendant recounted the facts he had heard of. The Duke shouted at Carloy with an angry face. Carloy orders Gorton to urge the Empress to finish her job and complete it promptly. Gordon told him that he will word his message to the Empress mildly to avoid upsetting the Duc de Wa, but Carloy shouted angrily. Gordon leaves office. Carloy remembers the Duke of Dewa, a vivid memory on how he whisper on his ear while he as a child can do nothing.